Hi, I'm Sharon. Welcome to my Theory Tuition series where we're working together step by step through each of the ABRSM Theory grades. There are lots of resources available to help you if you visit my website. If you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find some free PDF information sheets and you can download those in US letter or A4 and they accompany each step of this series. You'll also find a page with links to all of my YouTube video tutorials, and you can also access information about the books that I have available. I've written an exam technique guide, how to take your ABRSM Music Theory Exam. It's full of tips and techniques on how to best prepare for your exam and also how to make the best use of your time on exam day when you're working through your exam paper. So if you visit sharonbill.com, you'll find it's all there. If you can give me a like, that would be super, and subscribe to my channel to keep updated. There's lots more in store. And now we're going to continue with paper C of the 2015 past papers. So if you turn with me to page 11, and we'll have a look at the beginning of this section, starting with question 5. And so, as I always say, have a go at these yourself, or maybe just listen to the way I approach the first few and then press pause and have a go. It's always better to learn by your mistakes. You're always writing in pencil. I use a nice sharp mechanical pencil, and if you go wrong, it doesn't matter. You can just erase those mistakes and try again. It's much better to learn by your mistakes. So I'm hoping that you've had a go of these, and so we'll look through these together. Now we've got two aspects to answer here. We need to give the number of the interval, and we also need to describe it accurately, giving the type. So we need to say major, minor or perfect. And just giving the number will give you half marks, and then the rest of the marks are given by just describing that interval fully. So the harmonic intervals, because they come one on top of the other, like a harmony, they come together. However, the principle remains. The first job is just to count the blobs. The important thing is always to count this first note as number 1. We're in B flat major, so the first degree of the scale is B flat, so we're counting 1 for the space, 2 for the line, 3 for the space, 4 for the line. So we know that this is a fourth. So that's half the marks straight away. And now we need to describe it, and it's a perfect fourth because it's B flat to E flat, which is exactly as it should be. Nothing's been changed. So it's all in keeping with the major key signature. So that's a perfect fourth. We don't have major or minor, we have perfect fourths, fifths and octaves. So let's look at this next one. We're in A major, so here's our key signature for A major. So we've got A to G sharp, remember, and we've got to count the number first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We know it's a seventh, so that's half the marks straight away. And this is a G sharp, which is part of the major scale, so that's a major seventh. Now moving on, we're in G minor, we're in the bass clef. We've got the key signature G minor here. G is our first, of course, here. So counting from G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we know it's a sixth, and now we need to describe that sixth. So we've gone from G to E flat. Don't forget this is an E flat because of the key signature. And E flat is part of the minor scale. G major would not have an E flat, G minor would, and that's, if you notice as well, if you just look at the interval, you can see a minor interval is smaller. So here's G to E, that would be major. E flat, the minor interval is a semitone smaller. So that's another way of thinking of it. So we know that that's a minor seventh. Minor sixth. Here we go then. Next one. So the first job, we've got 1, 2. We're a second apart. Now notice these aren't quite one on top of the other. It's still a harmonic interval, but they can't place seconds absolutely one on top of the other because if we did so, they'd overlap. It's just such a close interval. So we now need to describe this, and from D to E, that's part of the major scale, it's a major interval. It's not been reduced in any way. Let's look at this last one. So we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a fifth, and that's a perfect fifth. Nothing's been changed. There we go. Let's move on to the next question. So question 6 asks us to add the rest or rests. That's the important point there, at the places marked with a little star to make each bar complete. So first of all, we need to find out what we need to be counting to. We need to be counting 2 crotchet beats, 2 quarter notes per bar. And this is the important point to consider. We need to reflect each new beat, each new crochet beat. It's the same rules for beaming as it is for rest, where you need to show the start of each new beat. So let's see how many beats we're missing. So we've got a half a beat here, and we've got a half a beat here. That gives us 1 beat. So we're 1 beat missing. However, it would be incorrect to just do a crochet beat to just fill that space, because we need to show the beginning and the ending of that beat, and then the beginning and ending of the second beat. So this is a half a beat. So we need to finish that beat first. And then we've got half a beat here, and we need to show the other half of that beat there. So we can see 2 beats. Every new beat needs a new rest, and so we need to show that division there. So let's carry on. So we've got a half a beat here. We've got a half a beat here. Although it's confused with the dot, really that and that cancel each other out. We can see we've got 2 quarters, and we've got a half a beat here. So here we have 1 full beat, there's a half a beat, so we've just got the other half of a beat to complete. There we go. So here we've got 2 halves, which give us 1 full beat, and we know that there should be 4 quarters of a beat, 4 semiquavers or 16th notes. So what we need to show is that time value. However, this remaining quarter of a beat needs to be shown as a rest. So that's that done. So now in this bar, first of all, we've got a half a beat here. So the first job, like here, is to complete this beat. So now we've got 1 full beat. We've got 1 full beat remaining, and we can now put a complete beat's rest there. Now here we've got a complete bar's rest. So you could be mistaken for thinking I'll add a minim or a half note rest like that. However, although mathematically that is correct, remember that we use a whole note or a semi-breve rest to show a full bar's rest. So although that's technically too big for the time signature, that's the accepted shortcut, as it were, for a complete bar's rest. There we go then, so that's that question completed. So question 7 asks us to rewrite the following with notes correctly grouped. We've got to beam these notes, and so exactly the same principles that we've just used in this question, where we're completing beats and showing each new beat, now applies here, but in terms of beaming. So we should be showing 4 crochet beats or 4 quarter notes per bar, and we need to be showing that in the way that we beam. So here we've got a half and 2 quarters, so they all belong together. We've got 2 quarters and a half of a beat, and then here we've got a half and a half, which gives us 1, a half and a half, which gives us another beat. However, we would not beam those like that, although that's the first sort of point of thinking. If you remember, we can actually, there's an exception to the rule where we can beam all 4 quavers together, so long as it doesn't cross over the middle point of that bar, which it doesn't. So we can show the half a bar by beaming all of those together. I can only presume that the reason we don't cross over with beams or rests carrying over that middle point of the bar is that it's such a long bar, we need to see exactly each half of the bar. Anything to make performance issues easy, so you can see at what point of the bar you're in. So we would have all of those beamed together. Let's carry on. So we've got a half a beat and a half a beat, so they can be left. We can't beam that to anything else. There's one beat, there's the next beat. So then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters of a beat, so they will belong together, and then they will belong together. We don't beam all of those together like we did here. The rule only applies where we can beam all of that minim's worth, that half note's worth, when it's just quavers on its own. If it's a mixture of quavers and semi-quavers, eighth notes and 16th notes, then we have to still show each individual beat. Let's carry on. So we're just doing all the thinking straight away. So a half and a half gives us a beat, so that will have to be left on its own because that belongs to this beat. It would be a mistake to beam those together because that's beat 1, this is now beat 2. So a half and 2 quarters belong together to make a full beat. 2 quarters and a half, there's another beat. 2 halves gives us another beat. And again, because it's a mixture of semi-quavers and quavers, we can't do the whole half a bar together. It's only when it's just quavers, eighth notes, that we can do that. So we've done all of the thinking now. We've just got to map that out. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get the note heads. You can copy it out in any order you like, but I prefer to just get the note heads in first, just get these blobs down. And then I'm only thinking of one thing at a time. I'm not trying to think about writing my notes and worrying about beaming and all sorts. So I'm just taking one thing at a time so I don't complicate the process. Anything to make it as easy as possible. You don't want to throw any marks away just with silly mistakes. So rest. Nearly there. And I'm keeping everything aligned so I don't lose track of where I am. And also, I know it's going to be properly spaced if I follow their example. There we go. So, I know that these belong together, so I can, because I'm beginning and ending at the same pitch, I'm keeping that straight, that beam. Then I need another beam there to show those semi-quavers. So these will angle down a little bit, showing my semi-quavers. Now these are kind of moving upwards. I think I'll use a ruler. So all of these can go together. So you can see we've already done the thinking. This is the easy peasy bit. So we've got 4 semi-quavers. So 2 beams there, 2 quavers. So this one must stay on its own because there's beat 1 and now we start beat 2 and we reflect that in the beam by grouping those together. And so it's much easier, you can see from performance point of view, there's beat 1, there's beat 2. It's much easier to play. We can easily see where each new begins, each new beat begins. There we go. Oh, gone a bit wonky there. There we go. And that's that question completed. We'll look at the next question, the last question in the next video. I do hope that that's helpful to you. I hope that you're enjoying it. I'm certainly enjoying working through it with you. If you can give me a like, that would be super. Please do subscribe to my channel to keep updated. Please also do visit sharonbale.com and make use of all of the resource that's available to help you there. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.